Due to an unfortunate malfunction on my video camera, I'm having to record this on my mobile phone. Typical case, the flexible hinge is starting to tear. You can buy new ones at about 20 quid, but I think I only paid 60 quid for the whole camera. So it's hardly worth fixing, and sadly that's going to be going up the skip, but never mind. Today I'm going to have a go at fixing this handle off an impulse bag sealer. I think it may have been dropped because it's got a crack either side. Had a go at gluing it, but I'm not sure that's going to hold up. So I've dug out some blue acrylic. Basically I've just got to cut a couple of strips to go either side, glue them on, drill them through and rivet it in strategic places. With a bit of luck that will fix things and give this a new lease of life. Step 1, pop out a bit of acrylic. Should be enough to get 2 out of them. I've measured all this up and this hole appears to be 7.5mm from the bottom, and avoiding these webs I can come out about 200mm, 100mm from the centre, and these webs here look to be 42.5. So this is basically what I'm going to chop out, CNC this out, give it a little bit of a radius and just spot these holes. The hole on one side needs to be 5mm for that, and we've got a 10mm clearance on this side. So a little bit of machining, a little bit of drilling, and then we'll glue them up, leave them to set, come back in a couple of days, probably re-drill them and fit some rivets. Okay, I've put the plate on the machine, marked up the centre, already referenced everything, so we'll begin by just drilling some 2mm holes at those strategic locations, and we'll do the centre holes, then we'll whip round and cut them out. Time to switch on. We'll finish off the rest and then we'll set up and do the next ones. A couple of 5mm holes, and then this one I'll take out to 10. Taking this down to about 6mm because it's 5mm plate. Nice little sheet. Just allowing for the tip on the drill. 6mm should be plenty deep enough, and this one I'm going to do with a 10mm slot drill because it's easier to get in rather than using a normal type of drill. That's about close enough. Right, now time to chop them out. Switch to a 3mm slot drill. Got to go 5mm deep, so I'll probably make it in 2 or 3 passes. Basically just going to come out here, swing back round, do that 3 times, then that top one will come out, move the clamps around and do the second one. Should really be using a collet for this, but it's only perspex, so I think we'll get away with a drill chuck. And at some point I'm really going to have to strip the spindle and do the bearings because they're starting to get annoying. Double look with it. It's not the fastest CNC machine in the world, but it will hit about 20 to 30 microns at a push. So it's got the accuracy, just not the speed, but it does the job. took about 10 minutes or so. Could really do with a laser cutter for jobs like this, but it's cut okay. So I'll spin another couple of passes, free that out, and on the last pass, when I get down to about here, I'm just going to swing one of these clamps over to hold it in place for the final chopping out part. But so far so good. Okay, this is the finishing pass, hopefully, and to stop this bouncing out when it gets to the end of the cut, I'll just move one of the clamps in so I can get a purchase on the bar itself, so when we get over to here it's not just going to fly out and chatter. Well, bad things happened at the end, but I think we can live with that. I obviously didn't get that clamped quite as firmly as I wanted to, so try and do better with the second part, but I'll chop that out and then we'll go glue them on. Well, these are the finished pieces. Put a little bit of a flange around that one because 10mm hole is going to be quite weak, but not too bad. Seem to fit reasonably well, so I'll put that one there. The holes clear everything. This one on this side, again, looks like it fits alright, so just roughing these up with a bit of sandpaper and we'll glue them on. This is the glue I'm going to be using, a 2-part cheap epoxy from the local pound shop. One of the actually half decent things you can get in the pound shops, but it sets pretty quickly, this stuff. I've used it a few times, and for £1 you can't really complain. A bit of a mix up. I'll do this one side at a time because it does set quite quickly, so slap a load of this on here. Too careful with it. That'll do. Right over the hole. Always drill that out a bit more if necessary. And that should be good. So I'll put a bit of masking tape around that, I think. Hold it in place. Give it a few minutes, come back, tidy it up, and do the other side. This is it so far. It looks a little bit messy, to be honest, but that'll come off with a knife or a bit of sanding. But everything's in place. The rivet holes look alright. May have to bolt them rather than rivet them, depending on what I can get through, but they're going to have to be re-drilled anyway. But the screw clears that, so that's fine. That's for holding the spring mechanism on the inside. Give that a couple of days, I guess. Maybe do it tomorrow, come back, finish it off, and then we'll reinstall it, see if it works. Right, I've sanded it down a little bit. Going to bolt them rather than rivet them with some 3mm bolts. So I'll drill these out at 2.5 and tap them. I need to cut the bolts down a little bit because they're far too big at the moment. But following that, that should be ready to go back together. My cutting technique when it comes to chopping bolts down is to make use of digital calipers, because I can set them to whatever length I need and then simply reference off the jaws with the saw, and then I know all of my bolts are going to be exactly the right length and all the same. There we go, and then that just needs a little bit of a touch up on the end of the grinder, and that'll be perfect. Correct tapping drill for an M3 is 2.5, but I'm actually going to go 2.4. Nothing terribly fancy here, just hand drill them through. I've already got a start because I put some holes in when we did the CNC work, so that'll be fine. That looks okay, so I'll do the rest and then we'll thread them. I've got it secured in a workbench because I don't want to damage the plastic by putting it in a proper metal working vise. So I've got a lead tap here, taper, which I can just slowly work into the hole, hopefully without cracking anything. First side went well, time to do the second. Well, if I've done this right, these should just screw in. Yep, it's going. There it is. Let's see if I can get a nut on the other side of that. And the final step before it gets reinstalled is just to put these bits back in. Okay. Oh well, that's useful. That's not captive, and that's glued. Okay, I'll have a think about that. Okay, got that back on as well. So that's it. Now it just needs reassembling in the sealer, and hopefully it'll work.